Good morning you guys, it's Karen, and this is a video in response to a couple of requests asking me to do a how to make a skincare regime video, and I thought that would be really useful for quite a few people. I'm going to focus mostly on the Decay, the ordinary skincare products, because I think that's what most of us are thinking of when we think about combining. Because they do the one ingredient products, then it's how to combine them all, how to work out a regime for yourself, and then how to layer them. This, however, is a generic how to make a skincare. Although I'm talking about the ordinary products and referring to them, you can apply this to any products you have. The only thing is that I would imagine, unless you're buying the pure products, it would get a bit complicated, because you may have, for example, a vitamin C combined with hyaluronic acid, and that would then, you'd need to do things slightly different to the way I'm talking about here. But I found it quite a challenge. Because I've ordered all these products and want to try them all, I found it quite a challenge to figure out a skincare regime that would incorporate all of them, not combine ingredients that I didn't want to combine, and also that would not, affect my makeup, and that I'd be using them. I wanted to use some of them every day, for example. So there are sometimes some sacrifices you have to make. And for me, what would be the absolute best way would be to use one product and introduce that into your skincare regime and see how you get on, and then leave that and use another one. But obviously nobody's going to do that, because with all of the products on The Ordinary, it would take us years, wouldn't it? So let me just show you. This is what I used to work out what I was going to combine. I started off with a list and put all the pHs and whatnot, but obviously you guys are not going to do that. But this does involve making notes. I don't think you can get away from making notes unless you only have 3 products. So what I'm telling you here applies whether you want to use 3 products or whether you want to use 10 products. What I'm not discussing here is oils and moisturiser, because everybody, I assume, is using them at the end of all of the serums and all of these different products. There are differing opinions on whether you should use oil then moisturiser, or moisturiser then oil. I think a lot of it is down to personal preference. But if you use oil and then moisturiser, most of the time the moisturiser won't be able to, it's not going to provide any extra benefit to your skin. It's just going to, I suppose the oil seals everything in, but I like to use a moisturiser on top of my oil because it takes away the oiliness, and that's really all. And I never use really a moisturiser that I'm using for benefits. Everything in the middle is what I'm using for benefits. The moisturiser for me, like I said, is just to make my skin a little bit less oily, but you can put oil on top of moisturiser. If you're using, say, an expensive moisturiser that has some really good ingredients in, you're better to use the moisturiser than oil, but both of them should be at the very end of all of this regime. And in fact, for me, what you'll see as I go through my regime is that I am trying to alternate using oil one night and hyaluronic acid another night, just to give it the most and different types of hydration. I like to mix up my skincare, which is something that, again, there was a lot of controversy about, and a lot of people believe you should just use one product. You shouldn't constantly be changing things with your skin, but I'm okay with that. So just to let you know that. So I had done my routine up to here, but I thought I'm going to go through it again on paper for myself, just to make sure I'm telling you guys the right things and that it works, And this isn't 100% formula. This is just a way for you to work out how you're going to use everything. So the first thing is to list all of your generic products and goals. So I'll show you what I mean by this. I'm showing you this, but you're not going to be able to see this, are you? So I'll just read it out. I'll maybe put it on the screen or something. So generic products, you can't always write down the generic products. For example, I'm not going to write down I want to use a peptide, because I want to use argireline specifically. So I'm writing down argireline. But I have written down exfoliating acid, because at the moment I know that I want to include an exfoliating acid in my skincare regime. I'm just not sure which one yet. I'm using lactic acid at the moment and I love it, but I'd like to try the azeliac, is it? Azeliac? I'm not sure how you pronounce that one, but I think I've ordered it. And I'm going to try that. So I've put exfoliating acid. Then next to it, write down what it is you want to achieve from that. So for me, I want that to have an effect on my large pores around by my nose, and on these, I've got these little white bumps under my chin. So I've put exfoliating acid, pores and white bumps. Vitamin C, again, that's not generic as such, but I want that for anti-aging, for general sort of protection from the environment, and for skin tone. Then I've put retinol stroke retinoid, so I want to use some kind of retinoid in my regime, and I want that for crow's feet, texture of my skin in general, and again the pores. Argireline. Then I've put an antioxidant, so I'd like there to be an antioxidant. Now vitamin C is obviously an antioxidant, so that could cover that, but I was thinking specifically of niacin. So you could put it whatever way you're comfortable with, but my point in writing them down generically was so that you make sure you don't have two of the same thing, because that would just, it would be pointless and also could be irritating. So for example, if you've ordered the lactic acid and the azelaic acid, I just can't say that word, azelaic. If you've ordered two, or a BHA, the BHA peel plus the lactic acid, you don't want to be using both of those. So by listing things generically like that, you can avoid that and see perhaps where you're repeating things. I've put miscellaneous serum here because I know that I want the hyaluronic acid, so hyaluronic acid could be listed, and also I wanted to use the buffet. But I only want to try the buffet for a while. I don't think the buffet is something that's going to be part of my regime. It's just not a priority for me, let's put it that way. It's not a priority. Another reason for doing this list and saying what you want your goals to be is it can show you what you're trying to achieve, and maybe show you products that you thought you needed in your regime but you don't necessarily. For me, that would be the buffet. I ordered the buffet and I've put on here, I couldn't think, I wrote it down and it was in my, what's my goal with this buffet? Why am I using this? And I thought, well, I'm using it for general anti-aging because I know that matrixyl is a good ingredient, it's a good peptide, but I've never really been into peptides and sort of, I don't want to say slow growing skincare, but things that are not dramatic. It's just not a priority for me at the moment, the buffet. And I saw from writing out this list that I ordered that simply because I want to try everything from The Ordinary. Apart from the primer, I'm not interested in trying the primer, and especially since I've heard it's got bad reviews. But anyway, I wanted to try the buffet. Everybody was talking about how wonderful it was. I know it's got good ingredients in it, so it's not going to do my skin any harm, but it's not fulfilling any particular need for me. So doing this list of what your goals are might help you to weed out things that you can simplify your skincare routine with as well, because I think the danger is that we're going to be, you know, putting 10 products on our face and they'll all be competing, and you won't ever have one sort of concentrated product, you know. I do worry about that in my own regime. Okay, so you've done your list, so you've got your products on the left, and then on the right you've listed exactly what you want to achieve from them and maybe eliminated something from them. The next thing to do would be to list the specific products. So if you might have already done this and you can keep the same list, but if you've put, for example, exfoliating acid, and you want to use 2, then you need to list those products. So you would list lactic acid, azelaic acid. Oh, I think I said it right there, azelaic acid. Yeah, I think that sounds right. Then next to that, I want you to put in the middle, so I've put, this is my list of specific products. I've put argireline, vitamin C, retinol, lactic acid, niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, buffet. And then in the middle part, put whether or not you want to use this AM or PM, and that is going to be down to what you believe the skincare rules are. Not that there are specific rules, but you know, whether, for example, vitamin C, I've explained why I personally want to use it at night, but you may prefer to use it in the morning, which is absolutely fine. And so write down whether you want to use it AM and PM, AM only, PM only. And then the ones that are blank here for me are ones like retinol. I'm happy to use that in the morning or in the evening, I don't mind. So write that down, then write down how many times you want to use it. So for the argireline, I've put AM and PM twice daily. And the final thing to do in your sort of workings out or your notes is to put down things that are a condition of the skincare. So for me, I have put under the argireline, I'm using that on my eyes only. So I want to use it around this area and just above my eyebrows, so it doesn't really affect my other products because, well, other products that I'm not putting near my eyes, but I want to use that on my eyes only. For vitamin C, I've put, I don't want to mix it with retinol or niacin. Those are 2 things that I don't want to mix it with. Then on my retinol, I've put not with vitamin C, and I only want to use that once weekly. Lactic acid, I don't want to use that with No, I've put with vitamin C. I do want to use it with vitamin C, not with retinol. And then niacin, I've noted that I don't want to use that before makeup because it pills. And so those are my kind of conditions, if you like, for the skincare. And there are some, like the hyaluronic acid, that have no conditions at all. There are circumstances where these conditions will be different. For example, if you're using a vitamin C suspension, doesn't matter if you mix it with retinol, but they were just my kind of conditions. That's a good word for it, I think. Okay, then what you need to do then is list your days. I've really scribbled this down here at the bottom simply because it was last night and I was getting tired, and my head was full, and also I was getting a headache, but I've just scribbled it at the bottom. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, AM and PM, and that's all you need. You can do it in a spreadsheet, on your notes, on your iPhone. The days of the week, Monday to Sunday, AM, PM, and then you can start filling things in, and this is where it starts coming together. So you want to start first by looking at the conditions that you've given your products and seeing if that means they can only fit in one particular place. So I'm going to look and see that I've said with vitamin C, I want to use it in the evening. I don't want to use it in the morning. So that can only happen at night. I would like to use it every day, but I know that I've got quite a few products I want to use in the evening. I can see from my PM on my previous list. So I know I'm not going to be able to use it every day. So I'm going to start off by putting vitamin C in, or I did start off on the Monday PM, and then I'm going to put it on the Wednesday, Friday, and then the Sunday. Because we've got 7 days of the week, there will be 2 days where your regime is the same, but you know, you can adjust it however you want. You can do it on a 6-day rota if you like. So that's me. I can tick off the vitamin C. I've got that in my regime. Then I'm looking at retinol. I want to use retinol once a week, no more than that. I don't mind if it's in the morning or evening, but I just know that it's once a week. So I'm going to leave that for now because I can probably fit that in anywhere. The argireline, I know that I want to use that morning and evening, so that is going to have to be in the schedule here, and I want to use that twice daily. So I've put argireline in. This is where I said I was rushed because I've just put arrows rather than repeating it every day, saying that I'm using that AM and PM. I'm using that though just around my eyes, so I just need to make sure I'm not putting any acids around my eyes so that it's not too irritated or it doesn't dilute the results, because obviously I'm specifically testing this for you guys. You can just go on and pick any item out and see, well, where does it fit in this chart, if you like. So let's have a look at lactic acid. So I've put lactic acid not with retinol. I don't want to combine that with retinol or retinoid, so I'm going to put my lactic acid. Well, I don't want to use this every day, so I could put it with my vitamin C and use it every other day. I've got the 10%, that's still quite a lot to use it. I've just put acid next to my vitamin C, so I can use whatever acid I want there. So if there's a celiac comes, I'll use that. No, I said it wrong there, didn't I? I'll use that next to the vitamin C. Niacin, next to niacin I've got not before makeup. So obviously I don't want to use niacin in the morning. Now, I've said I also don't want to combine niacin with vitamin C or acids. So I've already programmed in my vitamin C and acids on every other day. So I can slot in the niacin on every other evening. And again, I'm going to have to sacrifice using that every day if I don't want to combine it with the vitamin C and retinol, or with the vitamin C and acids. I know that niacin goes well with retinol. That gave me a fright. It's just that time of morning where hardly anybody has my home number, and the only people really that call my home number are Kev's parents or my dad, and I thought, if it's ringing at this time in the morning, it means somebody is in trouble, but thankfully it was just a wrong number. He asked if I had any jobs. I was like, no, I'm afraid not. Okay, where was I? I'd need to think about niacin, and that I can't use it every day if I want to use it, if I don't want to mix it with vitamin C and acid. So then I have to decide, do I want to use it with vitamin C and acid, or do I want to use it every night? And I've already decided that. We've already laid down our rules, if you like, which just makes it so much easier because you don't have to constantly be rethinking things. If you just started at this level and went, right, okay, I want to use niacin every day, so I'll put niacin every day, and then I want to use vitamin C every day, and then you go, oh, hold on a minute, I don't want to mix that with that, so let's cross that out. Right, I want to use acids once a week, so I'll use it there. Oh, hold on a minute, I want to use that in the morning. You know, it's easier to write down all your rules and regulations first, which are your own personal rules and regulations. So remember, we had that retinol that I haven't yet slotted in, and I said I'd be happy to use it AM or PM. My preference would be PM, just because I want really a quick routine in the morning, and I prefer to just have my SPF I don't mind if there's another product in there, but for quickness, like I said, it's better in the evening. So I'm having a look. I don't want to use it on the nights I've got vitamin C and acid, because if you remember from my other video, I don't want to mix retinol with vitamin and acids. It's up to you if you want to follow that rule or not. If you don't, then you could, you know, use that. If you could use all your products every night, really. But I also think it's nice to just use 2 or 3 maximum, rather than trying to use all, I don't know, 5 or 6 in one go on your skin, because it gives them a chance to work unopposed and without mixing them all, you know. So I can see that I've got niacin every other night. I can slot in my retinol with niacin because that works quite well with that. The only thing I'm left with is hyaluronic acid and buffet. For the hyaluronic acid, it's not really an essential for me. That is something that I want to use to boost the hydration of my skin, simply because since being on these hormone balancing tablets, I can get a little bit of dehydrated skin. But also because I'm using retinoid products, I want to make sure that I am replenishing moisture. And so what I'm doing is I am alternating oil and hyaluronic acid. So I don't really need to worry about what to mix the hyaluronic acid with. So I'll just use that instead of oil one night. The buffet I could put every other night with the niacin and the retinol. I could probably even use it with the vitamin C and acids. I'm not sure, I can't remember the full ingredients. I suspect the matrixyl peptide is probably more a pH to the skin, so I probably wouldn't want to use it with them. But I think I actually quite like just using the 3 products, like I say. So I have put the buffet on in the morning, so I'm putting argireline around my eyes, a buffet, and then my SPF, because like I said, I don't mind using one product in the morning in addition to my SPF. I don't know whether that was helpful or not, but I'm going to quickly run through what I've ended up with as a regime, and from that I will tell you the other things that you could use in place of them. So I will in the morning cleanse my face with my micellar water, and that's all I use. I just use 1 cotton pad, go over my face and eyes, and I at the moment I'm using the buffet. I probably will not continue to use that. It's a lovely serum, it feels nice, and I know it's got good ingredients in it. It's just not one that's a priority list for me, but I use that buffet. You could use your matrixyl, if you have a pure matrixyl serum. You could use the argireline all over your face if that's something you want to do. I also use the argireline in the morning under my eyes. I'm using it morning and night. What else could you use at that stage? You could use another serum that had retinol in. For example, the Dermic R has retinol in. You could use your retinol instead of or in addition to the buffet serum. I would just not recommend personally using vitamin C, but you could use your vitamin C before your SPF. Okay, so for me, on evening 1, I'm using, again, argireline around my eyes, vitamin C and some kind of acid. And I say some kind of acid because I'm not sure which one will end up staying in my routine. I've got the BHA from Paula's Choice. I have got lactic acid, 10% from Ordinary, and I've ordered the azelaic acid. I will simply miss that out and only use vitamin C if my skin begins to feel too irritated, or if I feel I'm using it too much, because lactic acid 10%, I don't want to be using that every other night. I'm not sure about the azelaic. I'm not sure how. I would imagine it's as strong, and I probably only want to use that now and again. If it was my BHA, I would keep that and use that every time I use the vitamin C, which is every other night. So night 1, cleansing, argireline around my eyes. I would then put on my acid because it will prepare the skin to help the penetration of the following products. So if this could be for you, lactic acid, azelaic acid, BHA, salicylic acid, AHA, glycolic acid, something like that. You could put that on at that stage, followed by vitamin C. That's the way I'm doing it. I can't think of anything else I would want you to follow that with because of the acids. I would say, you know me, I like to combine the vitamin C and acids and use them separately. If anything, you could use hyaluronic acid because that won't change the pH too much, but you could use that on top and then go on to do your moisturizer or even your oil and moisturizer. I then tend to wait I try to wait half an hour after putting on my vitamin C and acids just to let my skin normalise its pH itself. But obviously if I don't have time, if I'm not just sitting in the living room, then I would carry on with my normal skincare, and then that will be either my hyaluronic acid and a moisturiser, or it will be the oil and a moisturiser. And I don't always use a moisturiser, I sometimes just use an oil. The following evening is still the Azurine around the eyes, but instead I'm using niacin and retinol or retinoid. So that will be my niacin first, simply because it is a thinner liquid, so you go from thinnest to thickest. So you start with your thin liquid. If they're really watery, so for example Azurine is very watery, if you want to use Azurine all over your face, use that as the very first thing you use after your cleanse. Then go on to use your acids, and then it would be things like niacin that are a little bit of a thicker liquid. So I would use my niacin, and then I would use my retinol, whether it was the retinoid cream, the retinoid lotion, the 2% retinoid, whether it was the retinol, which is very thick, I would use that after my niacin. Obviously the frequency is going to change here depending on how my skin is reacting and depending on what I'm using. I'm using the 2% retinoid every other day quite happily at the moment, and then just using my retinol 1 day a week. The way that I slot that in is I use retinol on hump day. It's just an easy way for me to remember. I think if you're going to use a product once a week, you will get into the habit if you continue on, but it's at the start to remember, what day did I use it on? If you just pick a day that means something to you or has some significance, so you could do it on a Saturday because you get a lie-in and you can put it on in the morning, or you could do it on Saturday night because it's movie night, or, you know, for me, hump day for some reason just sticks into my head. So every night when I'm doing my routine, I'm like, what day do I use it on hump day? It's fine. And this routine at the moment for me is definitely a routine in progress. It's definitely changing because I'm trying these products and I may be surprised and not end up using the ones that I thought I was going to use. You might find by the end of me using the buffet, I might be like, wow, it's amazing underneath my makeup and I love it and I want to continue using it. I don't feel that way at the moment. I do really like how it goes on, but it's not something I'm like, yes, I've got to repurchase this. If my skin is feeling really irritated, I may not want to use any acids at all. I may just stop using those and continue to use the vitamin C. I may not want to use retinol. You know, there's lots of things you can change depending on how your skin's reacting, which is, like I said, why really the ideal situation is you just use one product, see how your skin reacts, and work it out from there. But most of us are too impatient to do that. I hope that this has been helpful. I know that I can't direct this to everybody and everybody's products because everybody will have different ones, and I've got a lot of questions on previous videos from people saying, I'm using this, this and this, can you tell me which order I can use them in? But the problem is, in order for me to do that, unless they're ones that I use, I would have to go and look through all of the ingredients, try and find out what the pH of the product was, and try and put together a skincare regime as such, which I'm just not able to do. I don't know enough about all of the products out there, and that research time is being spent on more videos, if that makes sense. And I do, of course, try to answer the questions in as much detail as I can, or with the knowledge that I have. And in fact, that's where, do you remember ages ago I had the, I think I call it a personal shopper experience or something like that on my website. But the idea was, I think it started off as a beauty consultation, but the idea was, and I never really gave it the right name or marketed it correctly, but I did have several people using it, was that I could make up a regime for you. And one of the clients that used this service, it was skincare. She told me all of her skincare issues. She listed all of her products. I asked her some questions. She answered them for me, and I made her a skincare regime of what I thought would work best for her, the best way to mix the products, how often to use them, that kind of thing. So, I mean, that is in theory still there. It's not a business I really pay attention to or that comes up very much, to be honest. I think that's everything. I think this is probably going to be one of the hardest videos to get understood, because I know that I'm probably assuming that you've watched my video on mixing products, and I'm unaware of the products that you guys own, so I may well be missing something, you know, or be missing some combinations, and somebody will say, what about this with this? I will maybe let me know, I won't list it, but let me know if it would be helpful to you if I list what my current regime is in the description. If I say, you know, this is what I'm doing on morning 1, evening 2, that kind of thing, and maybe that will help you out. So in the continued tradition, albeit a new tradition, of telling you something I'm proud of achieving, and hopefully having you guys tell me what you are proud of achieving, I am proud to have a website of my own. I have a website called mrsginger.com, and the reason I'm proud of it is because there were at least 2 that I can think of prior to that I wasn't proud of, and that I used something because it was easy, something that would build the website for me. But with this last website, with mrsginger.com, I built it from scratch and I designed it, and I learnt so much. There was a huge learning curve. It's a wordpress.org site, which is different to wordpress.com. And yeah, I've learnt a lot of programming language and learnt an awful lot, and it takes a lot of upkeep, and it took a lot to design it. So I'm very proud of that website. So let me know what you are proud of today, and I will speak to you again soon.